Everyone has it, right? Well, we hope, anyway. For today's lesson, students need to know a number of things. In today's lesson, we are going to utilize information from yesterday's class. Yesterday, we learned how to graph a line using its equation. We learned what an x-intercept is, what a y-intercept is. The intercepts are when a graph crosses the x and y axis. We then made tables to find points on the line. We plug numbers for x into the equation of the line and solve to find the y value. So much wonderful math was happening yesterday. But now, for today's lesson. The sun is shining, the birds are chirping, Hurricane Sandy is coming. It's a great day to be learning math today. Today we are going to learn how to find the slope of a line. Who's excited? I am. I'm excited. More importantly, we're going to learn how to use 2 points on a line to find the slope of this line. So, you ask me, well, Miss C, what does this look like? What's our objective? Well, for today's learning objective, I will be able to find the slope of a line on a graph. And I will be able to find the slope of a line from 2 points on a line. Exciting stuff. Who's ready? I'm ready. Let's get started. Now, how steep or downhill or flat our line is called our slope. You may have heard this word before. We've touched on it slightly yesterday. But today we're going to get really into the slope. So here are 2 lines. They look pretty different, don't they? Lines are used to keep track of lots of information, like how much money a company makes. Just off of the top of your head, which line would you want to describe how much your company makes? All of a sudden, which line is yours makes a lot of difference. I know I would want mine to be the one going up, not the company going down. I'm going to introduce you to my friend Ray. He's kind of a map superhero. He's going to help us explain the slope a little bit differently. Map superhero Ray is going to walk the slopes. He's going to walk the lines from left to right, just like we read. And he's going to tell us a lot of important things about the slope from his walk. He's going to start with this one. And this line, Ray slides right down, no problem. Right? He's going down on that line. A slope for this line could be something like -2, -1/4, -5/3, -10. All lines going down are going to have a negative slope. And they're going to be represented in these ways, as either a fraction or a whole number, depending on the line. Now for this line, Ray is going to also walk it, but he's having a little bit more trouble. Come on, Ray, hurry up! He made it. For this line, since it's going upward, it's always going to have a positive slope. A positive slope of 3, 7, 5, 6, 3/4. For lines that are going up, we're going to have a positive slope because they're going in the upwards direction. Lines going downward from left to right, negative slope. Lines going upward from left to right, positive slope. In the math world, slope is referred to using the letter m. When writing an equation of a line, m designates the slope of the line. Also, slope is referred to as rise over run. The rise is how far we are increasing or decreasing on the y-axis, and run is how far we are going across the x-axis to the right. This is how rise over run looks on the graph. It actually forms a triangle from one point to the next. You're going to start with this point and you're rising up and running to the right to get to the next point. So however many points I go up is my rise on top of my fraction for my slope, and however many points I go to the right is going to be my run in my fraction. Let's try an example. So our first example here involves a line that is going upwards from left to right. The question is, what is the slope of the line containing the points -2, -1, and 1, 1? Our job is to find the slope of this line. So we know that this line is going in a positive direction because it is increasing, so we can hypothesize that this line is going to have a positive slope. Now let's get started. So to get from this first point, -2, -1, the leftmost point on the graph, up to 1, 1, I have to rise first because that is my slope formula, rise over run. We do the top first and then the bottom. So let's rise first. We're going to go up 1, 2, 3 to get to our point 1, 1. So I'm going to put a 3 in for my rise. Now, to get to the point 1, 1, I'm going to have to run over 1, 2, 3. So that our run is also going to be 3. We can simplify 3 over 3 to simply 1. 1 is the slope of this line. From one point to the next, this slope is rising exactly 1. We have proved our hypothesis by finding a positive slope on this line. Let's try another example. This line looks a little bit different than the first one. What we'll notice about it is that it's actually decreasing from left to right rather than increasing like our last line was. So I'm going to hypothesize that this line is going to have a negative slope. So let's get started with our question here. What is the slope of the line containing the points -2, 2, and 3, -1? Okay, so we know we need to find our rise over run for the slope of this line. So we're going to start at the point -2, 2. We need to rise in the downward direction to get to 3, -1 over here. So we're going to go down 1, 2, 3 to get to our point 3, -1. So since we went downward, I'm going to put a negative sign and a 3 for our rise. Now we're going to have to go run to the right to get to our point 3, -1 from this point. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to get to 3, -1. So our run is 5. And our slope is -3 over 5 or -3/5 for this line. So our hypothesis was right that it is a negative. Our line is decreasing. And we have found the rise over run or slope for yet another line using 2 points on the graph. Now that we have learned how to find the slope of a line from its graph, I'm going to show you a very important formula that will help you to find this a little bit easier and possibly quicker than using your rise over run on the graph itself. This formula is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. This formula finds the slope of a line for you if you have 2 points. Now, this involves a little work. We have to label our points x1, y1, x2, y2. Okay? And then once we have done that, all we do is plug the points into the equation and solve. So, our y2 is going to be 3. 3 minus our y1, which is 1, all over x2, which is 4, minus x1, which is a -2. So all we have to do now is solve this to find the slope of this line based on our 2 points. So 3 minus 1 is 2, and 4 minus a -2 is actually a +6. 2 over 6 is the slope of this line. We can simplify this and make it 1/3. The slope of this line using the 2 points that are given in our formula of y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 is 1/3. Some of you may be wondering, is it very important which points that I label x1 and y1 and x2 and y2? Let's do a little experiment and see what we get. We're going to take the same points that we had in our last example, but we're actually going to flip them and label these points x1 and y1, and this set of points x2 and y2. Now our formula for finding the slope from 2 points is again y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay? We are going to plug our points in and see if the slope comes out the same. Our y2 is 1 minus our y1, which is 3. Our x2 is -2 minus our x1, which is 4. 4. Okay? Now we're going to calculate it out to find our slope. 1 minus 3 is going to be a negative 2, and negative 2 minus 4 is going to be a negative 6. We know our negatives cancel when we simplify to 1/3. If you remember correctly, we got 1/3 last time also. So, amazingly enough, it does not matter which points you label x1, y1, y2, x2. It doesn't matter as long as you stay consistent when you're plugging them into the formula. You plug the appropriate points into the formula at the appropriate times. You will always get the same answer. So no worries to be very concerned with which points are x1, y1, x2, y2. It doesn't matter as long as you stay consistent, plug them into the formula, and simplify. You are golden. So actually slope, or finding how steep or decreasing or flat our line is, can actually be described in 3 ways. Our rise over run, which we learned on the graph, going from one point to another to find the slope. It can also be described as our formula of y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And an even simpler way to think about it is the change in y's over the change in x's. All of these things describe slope of our line. Let's do a little recap. We've learned so much exciting information today, I don't want you to miss a single thing. First, we learned what slope is. We learned that slope is how steep or downhill a line is. We learned that we can calculate slope using rise over run on a graph. Our rise can either go up or down depending on our line, but our run always must go to the right. We also learned another important formula to calculate slope based on 2 points. This formula was y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That was a great one too, because if we're just given 2 points, we can calculate the slope without even looking at the graph. So great! I hope everyone learned a lot today, got a lot of exciting math information into your brains, and are coming to class tomorrow ready to learn. In tomorrow's class, we are going to learn how to find the equation of a line in 2 different forms. Very important, uses the slope. Make sure you do your homework, and I'll see you tomorrow.